Have you ever noticed something strange happens to women after 40? They become magnetic in a way that younger women aren't. Not because they're trying harder, but because they've stopped trying altogether. Men feel this shift immediately. They're drawn to these women but can't explain why. It's unsettling because everything society taught us about female attractiveness gets turned upside down. A 42-year-old woman walks into a room and commands attention without makeup, without tight clothes,
Sometimes
without
it's hard to
performing.
admit,
She
but I've
just
been struggling.
exists. And that
I
existence is
believe this
so
new
powerful,
strategy will
it makes people
significantly improve
uncomfortable.
our market
There's
position.
something about a woman who has lived enough to know her worth that becomes absolutely irresistible. Carl Jung once said that the most terrifying thing is to accept yourself completely. Women over 40 have done this work. They've faced their shadows, survived their storms, and emerged with something precious. A kind of inner knowing that can't be faked or bought. Today we're going to explore exactly why this happens and why it drives men absolutely crazy. The first thing you notice about a woman over 40 is how she carries herself. There's no fidgeting, no checking mirrors, no seeking approval in the eyes of strangers. She moves through the world with a certainty that comes from having tested herself against life's challenges and survived. This isn't the manufactured confidence of youth that depends on external validation. This is something deeper, more primal, more threatening to the established order. When a 25-year-old woman enters a room, she's often performing. She's learned the rules of attraction and plays them well. She knows which angles work for photos, which topics make her seem interesting, which laughs will charm. But a woman over 40 has transcended performance. She's discovered something revolutionary. She doesn't need to be interesting to everyone. She only needs to be authentic to herself. This shift terrifies people because it challenges the fundamental assumption that women exist for others. The 40-something woman has broken free from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval. She's learned the difference between confidence and arrogance, between self-assurance and selfishness. Her confidence isn't loud or demanding. It's quiet, steady, unshakable, like a mountain that doesn't need to prove its height. Men sense this immediately and it confuses them. They're programmed to look for signs of insecurity they can exploit, gaps in confidence they can fill. But when they encounter a woman who is genuinely complete within herself, their usual strategies fail. They can't rescue her because she doesn't need saving. They can't fix her because she's not broken. They can't complete her because she's already whole. This wholeness is what makes her irresistible. In a world full of people seeking validation through likes, shares, and external approval, here stands someone who has found her center. She's not trying to impress anyone because she's already impressed herself by surviving everything life has thrown at her. She's not seeking attention because she's learned to give herself the attention she craved from others. The woman over 40 has discovered a secret that younger women are still learning. True confidence isn't about convincing others you're worthy. It's about knowing you're worthy regardless of what others think. This knowledge radiates from her like heat from a fire. You can feel it when she speaks. You can see it in how she moves. You can sense it in the way she takes up space without apology. She's not playing hard to get. She simply knows her value and won't accept less than what she deserves. This isn't a strategy or a game. It's a way of being that comes from having learned the hard way that settling leads to suffering. She's paid the price of compromising herself and decided never to do it again. The Sacred Art of Refusal by 40, a woman has said yes to enough wrong things to become an expert at saying no to what doesn't serve her. This transformation is perhaps the most powerful and intimidating change that occurs. Where once she might have agreed to dates that felt off, jobs that drained her, or relationships that diminished her, she now guards her energy like the precious resource it is. The younger woman often says yes from a place of fear. Fear of missing out, fear of seeming difficult, fear of being alone. But the woman over 40 says no from a place of wisdom. She's learned that every yes to something that isn't right is a no to something that could be. She's discovered that her time and energy are finite resources that deserve to be invested wisely, not squandered on people and situations that don't appreciate their value. When she's asked on a date by someone who shows red flags, she doesn't give chances she once would have given. She doesn't think maybe he'll change, or maybe she's being too picky. She simply declines and moves on. This isn't coldness, it's clarity. She's learned to trust her instincts because those instincts have been honed by experience. Every time she ignored them in the past, she paid a price. In the workplace, she no longer volunteers for every extra project or stays late to prove her dedication. She's learned that martyrdom isn't rewarded, it's exploited. She sets boundaries around her time and energy because she understands that respect isn't given to those who don't respect themselves. She says no to overtime that interferes with her life balance, no to additional responsibilities without additional compensation, no to being treated as less than she's worth. Her family dynamics change too. She stops being the automatic yes person for every request, every crisis, every drama. She loves deeply, but she no longer loses herself in the process. When relatives ask for money she can't afford to give, she says no without the guilt that once consumed her. When friends demand her time without reciprocating, she steps back without explanation. She's learned that obligation without appreciation breeds resentment. Men find this particularly confusing because they're used to women who bend, who accommodate, who prioritize others' comfort over their own. When they encounter a woman who won't shrink herself to make others comfortable, it's disorienting. They've been conditioned to expect a certain level of flexibility from women, a willingness to compromise their own needs for the sake of keeping peace. But the woman over 40 has learned that peace bought with self-betrayal isn't peace at all. It's surrender. She's discovered that saying no is not selfish, it's essential. Every no she speaks creates space for the right yes to emerge. Every boundary she sets teaches others how to treat her. Every time she chooses herself, she sends a message to the universe about what she's available for. This selectivity extends to how she spends her leisure time. She's no longer available for activities that bore her, conversations that drain her, or social gatherings that feel like obligations rather than celebrations. She's learned the difference between being social and being authentic, between being liked and being respected. She chooses substance over popularity, depth over breadth. The power of her no extends beyond individual situations. It's a philosophical stance about how she moves through the world. She's no longer trying to be everything to everyone because she's learned that when you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, least of all yourself. Her selectivity isn't snobbishness. It's self-preservation elevated to an art form. The dangerous beauty of truth. What makes a woman over 40 truly irresistible is her commitment to authenticity, even when it's uncomfortable. She's reached an age where pretending takes more energy than being real, and she's chosen reality every time. This authenticity is dangerous because it challenges everyone around her to be equally real, and most people aren't ready for that level of honesty. She stopped wearing masks that don't fit her face. If she's tired, she says so instead of pretending to be energetic. If she disagrees, she speaks up instead of nodding along. If she's not interested, she makes it clear instead of leading people on. This directness can be jarring in a world where politeness often masks dishonesty, where social conventions prioritize comfort over truth. Her emotional honesty is particularly striking. She's learned to feel her feelings without being consumed by them, to express her needs without being demanding, to share her truth without needing others to validate it. When she's hurt, she doesn't lash out or shut down. She communicates clearly about what happened and what she needs to move forward. This level of emotional maturity is rare and powerful. In intimate relationships, this authenticity becomes even more pronounced. She's comfortable with her body because she's learned that confidence is more attractive than perfection. She knows what she likes and isn't afraid to ask for it. She's past the age of faking anything for anyone's comfort. This sexual authenticity is both liberating and intimidating to partners who are used to women who perform rather than participate. She's also honest about her life circumstances. She doesn't hide her children, her past marriages, her financial situation, or her career challenges. She presents herself as she is, not as she thinks others want her to be. This level of transparency weeds out people who aren't serious about knowing the real her, leaving only those who can handle the fullness of who she's become. Her intellectual honesty is equally powerful. She's read enough, lived enough, and learned enough to have formed real opinions about things that matter. She doesn't pretend to agree with views that contradict her values, even when it would be easier to go along. She's learned that intellectual dishonesty is a form of self-betrayal that leads to resentment and disconnection. Authenticity extends to how she presents herself to the world. She's stopped trying to look younger than she is because she's learned that her age is part of her power. The lines on her face tell stories of laughter and sorrow. The gray in her hair speaks of wisdom earned. She's discovered that trying to hide her age is like trying to hide her experience, and her experience is her greatest asset. People are both drawn to and threatened by this level of authenticity because it mirrors back their own areas of pretense. When someone is genuinely themselves, it highlights how much others are performing. Her comfort with who she is makes others uncomfortable with who they're pretending to be. This creates both attraction and resistance, admiration and judgment. The woman over 40 has learned that authenticity is a gift she gives herself, not a burden she places on others. She's real because being fake is exhausting, not because she's trying to make a statement. Her truth isn't a weapon against others, it's a foundation for herself. And that foundation is so solid, so unshakable, that others can't help but notice its strength. The phoenix rising, perhaps the most compelling quality of a woman over 40, is the wisdom that comes from having survived. She's been broken and put herself back together. She's failed and learned from those failures. She's loved and lost and discovered that she can survive heartbreak without losing her capacity for love. This survivorship gives her a kind of fearlessness that's both inspiring and intimidating. Survived betrayals that taught her to trust her instincts. Every time someone showed her who they really were, and she ignored the signs, she paid a price. But those painful lessons became invaluable gifts. Now she can read people with an accuracy that comes from having seen the patterns before. She knows the difference between genuine interest and manipulation, between love and control, between care and possession. Her relationship with failure has transformed completely. Where once failure felt like the end of the world, she now sees it as information. She's failed enough times to know that failure isn't fatal, it's educational. This relationship with failure makes her willing to take risks that paralyze younger people. She's not afraid to start over because she's done it before and survived. She's not afraid to walk away from what isn't working because she's learned that clinging to the wrong thing prevents the right thing from arriving. The losses she's endured have deepened her capacity for appreciation. She's lost parents, friends, opportunities, and dreams. Each loss taught her something about impermanence and precious about presence. She doesn't take good things for granted because she knows how quickly they can disappear. This appreciation makes her more intense, more present, more alive than people who haven't yet learned how fragile everything really is. Her relationship with pain has evolved from resistance to acceptance to integration. She's learned that pain is not the opposite of joy, but rather the price of loving deeply. She no longer runs from difficult emotions because she's learned they carry important information. Her ability to sit with discomfort without being overwhelmed by it makes her a powerful presence in any situation. Financial struggles have taught her the difference between wants and needs, between security and status. She's learned that true security comes from within, from knowing she can handle whatever comes. She's discovered that happiness doesn't require expensive things, that contentment can be found in simple pleasures, that peace is priceless and can't be purchased. Career setbacks have shown her that her value isn't determined by her job title or salary. She's learned to separate her worth from her work, her identity from her income. This separation gives her a freedom that younger people, still climbing ladders and proving themselves, don't yet possess. She can take risks they can't afford because she's already proven to herself that she can survive professional disappointment. The cumulative effect of all this survival is a kind of emotional invincibility. Not because she can't be hurt, but because she knows she can handle being hurt. She's been to the bottom and climbed back up. She's faced her worst fears and lived to tell about it. This gives her a courage that comes only from having tested yourself against life's hardest challenges and emerged intact. This survivorship creates a magnetism that's different from any other kind of attraction. It's the appeal of someone who has been refined by fire, strengthened by struggle, deepened by loss. She carries her scars not as marks of damage, but as proof of durability. Her brokenness has been transformed into breakthrough, her wounds into wisdom, her pain into power. The woman over 40 doesn't just survive, she thrives. She takes everything life has thrown at her and transforms it into strength, wisdom, and depth. This alchemy of experience into wisdom makes her irresistible to anyone mature enough to recognize the value of a soul that has been tested and emerged victorious. She's not just attractive, she's magnetic. She doesn't just exist, she radiates. And that radiation draws people who are ready for something real, something deep, something lasting. The undeniable power. When we look back at the journey of the woman over 40, one thing becomes crystal clear. This isn't a story about aging. It's a story about awakening. It's the evolution from living to be accepted to living to become yourself. And this transformation creates a kind of power that society hasn't quite figured out how to handle. The woman over 40 has learned the most important lesson life can teach. That self-acceptance isn't the destination, it's the starting point. When she stops trying to fit into molds that others have created, she begins to create space for her authentic self to flourish. And that authentic self is so powerful, so magnetic, so undeniably real that it changes everything around her. This is why men find her so irresistible and yet so threatening. She represents everything they've been taught women should be, but in a way they never expected. She's confident without being arrogant, strong without being harsh, independent without being cold. She's feminine in the deepest sense of the word, not because she performs femininity, but because she embodies it naturally, effortlessly, authentically. The woman over 40 has discovered something that younger women are still searching for. The secret to true magnetism lies not in what you can give others, but in what you've learned to give yourself. She's learned to be her own best friend, her own fiercest protector, her own most loving supporter. This self-relationship is so complete, so fulfilling, that it radiates outward like a beacon, drawing others who recognize the rare beauty of someone who is genuinely at peace with themselves. Her power lies in her paradoxes. She's soft yet unbreakable, gentle yet unmovable, open yet selective. She can love deeply without losing herself, care intensely without being consumed, give generously without being depleted. These seeming contradictions are actually the hallmarks of emotional maturity, the evidence of someone who has integrated all aspects of her humanity into a cohesive whole. The woman over 40 has learned that her greatest strength is her ability to walk away from anything that doesn't honor her worth. This isn't callousness or cruelty, it's clarity. She's learned that self-respect isn't selfish, it's essential. Every time she chooses herself, she teaches others how to treat her. Every boundary she sets becomes a declaration of her value. Every standard she maintains becomes a testament to her growth. Perhaps most importantly, she's learned that her age is not an apology, but an announcement. She's not sorry for taking up space, for having opinions, for knowing what she wants. She's not apologizing for her wrinkles, her gray hair, her expanded body. These are evidence of her experience, proof of her survival, markers of her wisdom. She wears them like badges of honor because she's learned that everything that tried to break her only made her stronger. The woman over 40 represents a revolution in how we think about female power. She's not powerful because she's young and untested. She's powerful because she's lived and learned. She's not attractive because she fits society's narrow standards. She's attractive because she's transcended those standards entirely. She's not magnetic because she's trying to be. She's magnetic because she stopped trying to be anything other than herself. This is the undeniable power of the woman over 40. She has learned to love herself so completely that she doesn't need anyone else to complete her. She's become so whole that she can share her wholeness without losing it. She's grown so strong that she can be vulnerable without being weak. She's developed such clarity that she can say no without guilt and yes without reservation. In a world that tells women their value diminishes with age, she stands as living proof that the opposite is true. She's not declining, she's arriving. She's not fading, she's finally shining. She's not becoming less, she's becoming more. More authentic, more powerful, more magnetic, more herself than she's ever been. This is why she's irresistible. Not because she's perfect, but because she's real. Not because she has it all together, but because she's learned to embrace the beautiful mess of being human. Not because she's young, but because she's wise. Not because she's trying to be attractive, but because she's learned that the most attractive thing about any woman is her comfort with herself. The woman over 40 has discovered the ultimate secret, that the love you give yourself sets the standard for the love you'll accept from others. And when you love yourself unconditionally, You become absolutely irresistible to anyone who's ready for something real, something deep, something lasting. She's not just surviving, she's thriving. She's not just living, she's alive. And that aliveness is the most powerful force in the universe.